So going down this weekend, we have UFC Fight Night, Usman versus Buckley. Going down in the ATL, man, what a stacked fight night this is. This, to me, I love these fight nights, man. Obviously, we love pay-per-views because that's what it takes to get a good card nowadays. But some of these fight nights that the UFC has been putting together, they are outstanding. And UFC Atlanta, it might as well be a pay-per-view. We have some big names on the card. We have a ton of fun matchups. Excited to break this one down. This is going to be my full card breakdown along with a prediction for every single fight on the card. Let's hop into it straight away with the first fight of the night between Vanessa Demopolous and Jamie Lynn Horth. Straightforward matchup to me. I think that Jamie Lynn Horth's size is going to be a problem for Vanessa Demopolous in this matchup. And Jamie Lynn Horth, I just think that she's the better overall fighter. I think she's a little bit rangier on the feet. She's a little bit cleaner. And I think that she is the better overall fighter. While I think both of them are a little bit lacking when it comes to the grappling skills, I think that this fight favors Jamie Lynn Horth. I think that this is a very good stylistic matchup for her because what we've seen from Vanessa, she doesn't really have the ability to put anybody out. And what we've seen from Jamie Lynn is if you can take her down and control her, that is where she runs into some of her issues like we saw against Veronica Hardy, but she could have won that fight, right? So that was a close fight there. I think that we are looking at a back and forth striking type of matchup. Maybe Jamie Lynn, if anyone's going to resort to the grappling, it's her. Maybe she's able to find a submission or something. I don't think so. I'm going Jamie Lynn Horth by decision. I think that Jamie Lynn is just the better overall fighter here. Simple as that. Moving on, we have Phil Rowe versus Loosa. Interesting matchup here because Phil Rowe for this weight class, he's an issue in terms of his range because he's 6'3", he's got an 80-inch reach, and you'd like to see him use it a little bit better because what we've seen from Phil Rowe his past two fights, it just hasn't looked good. Struggled against Jake Matthews, struggled against Neil Magny, even though it was a split decision, but before that, he went on a nice streak. He's knocking out Nico Price, Jason Witt, and Orion Kosuke, right? So it's not like he's facing particularly good competition, and when he faced even decent competition, he looked like a deer in headlights. And Phil Rowe, he's got a difficult frame to deal with, but if you can press the action, get after him and put volume on him, Phil will be behind all night long. And I really think that Rowe has the frame and he has the skills to be a solid fighter, but he just looks frozen in there to me. And I think when you're going in there against a guy like Loosa, who is coming off of a loss to Gabriel Bonfim, which, by the way, how good is the competition there? Then he looked for a way out against Brian Battle. That was a disgraceful end to that fight there. That was shitty on the side of Loosa. But then he goes out there and beats Reese McKee. We saw what Reese McKee was recently able to do. He's able to beat AJ Fletcher, right? So we've seen from Loosa, he will press the action, he has the wrestling, and he has the volume and the output on his side. The one thing that concerns me on the side of Loosa is if this fight does go into that third round, which I think that it will, we've seen Loosa slow down. As the fight starts to play out, he comes out very kind of chaotic. He likes to just kind of get after you, and we do see him slow down to where maybe Phil can find a window of opportunity in the later rounds, find some sort of shot, and catch him at the end of one of his shots. But I think that that's kind of what you're banking on if Phil Rowe is going to get this thing done. I think that Loosa is able to mix things together, mix in the wrestling, outscore Phil Rowe to, basically bag those two first rounds there, the first and second round. And then I think that Rowe may have a solid third round, but it'll be too little too late there. So I think Loosa, his volume and his wrestling are going to be the difference here. I think he wins by decision. Moving on, we have Ricky Simón versus Charles Jourdain. Interesting fight here because Ricky Simón, he was a guy that went out there, he was able to submit Jack Shore, which that was a fantastic win at the time, right? Then he goes out there, gets finished by Song Yadong, loses to Mario Bautista, loses to Vinny Oliveira, but look how good those fighters are, man. So that's a very, very good 3-fight stretch there. Even though he lost, that's really solid competition. Then he goes out there against Javid Basharat and starches him with a beautifully timed right hand that looked like how Usman knocked out Jorge Masvidal. And why is that? The takedown threat of Ricky Simón, the physicality and the pressure and durability that Ricky brings, it can be a problem for a lot of fighters that want things to look clean, because what we've seen from Charles Jourdain is, you have to remember, this is a guy that was kind of trying to find his groove with the weight classes, right? Goes out there, beats Kron Gracie, beats Ricardo Ramos by guillotine, goes out there, loses to Sean Woodson, which again, that was kind of a close fight, goes out there, gets finished by Jean Silva, and he's like, enough of that. I got to move down to 135 pounds, and he gets back on track with a submission victory over Victor Henry. Listen, Charles Jourdain, nickname Air, right? He's got that flying knee. He's got some really slick submissions. He loves that guillotine. That's kind of what he's going to have to be banking on in this fight. Maybe Ricky Simón gets, kind of overzealous, chasing takedowns, puts his head in a bad position to where Charles is able to snatch that neck and get him out of there. But I struggle to see it, man, because Ricky Simón, he's a guy that people count out so many times because he, the fights that he's losing, they're against, dangerous up-and-coming prospects that end up being really good in the weight class, or they're guys that are already established in the division. That's who Ricky Simón loses to, and he's only 32 years of age, almost 33. He's been around the block, and he's a super well-rounded fighter, and now coming off of a KO win, I just feel like Ricky Simón is firing on all cylinders right now. I think that he wins this fight, but I'm going to say by decision. I don't think that sitting here saying that Ricky Simón's now some sort of knockout artist, I don't think that that's the most realistic thing. Unless he dyes his hair blonde again and comes out as Ricky Oliveira, maybe that's the signature way for him to get finished these days, but I think he's a better overall fighter. I think that, Charles was the guy that fought in the higher weight class, but to me, the more physically impressive fighter here is Ricky. I think that he's going to have the physicality advantage here. I know that Charles Jourdain is going to be a little bit taller, but Ricky's got the same reach. I don't see it being any type of an issue for Ricky in this matchup. I think that he will actually have a little bit of a speed and strength advantage when it comes to the grappling. And even on the feet, you got to watch out for his power now. I think that that's something Charles is going to be weary of. Give me Ricky Simón to get it done by decision. Moving on, we have Cody Durden versus Jose Ochoa. This is an interesting fight here because Cody Durden, he's been around the block, man. He's been around for a while. He's 34 years of age. He's got a lot of experience now, especially in the UFC. And what we've seen from him is he was able to beat Jake Hadley, loses to Tagir Ulanbekov by submission. Again, that's Tagir. That's a very solid opponent. Goes out there, gets starched by Bruno Silva. But we've seen how good Bruno Silva is, right? I know he's getting beaten up by, Joshua Van, Manel Kape, and some of the, the fighters that are really on the climb in the division. But he's still a dangerous guy, right? Goes out there, he's able to submit Matt Schnell, and he's coming off of a decision loss to Joshua Van. So a lot of Durden's losses, they're to some pretty game opponents, right? He got submitted by Muhammad Makayev or finished by Makayev very, very quickly, right? So anyone that Durden's been losing to, it's pretty game opposition, right? And he finds himself in a position here to where he's facing Jose Ochoa, trains at Chuda Box, Diego Lima's place. And listen, man, he's coming off of a loss to Loner Kavanaugh. And Loner Kavanaugh, he's one of the prospects in this flyweight division that I think is special. I think that he's someone that's going to climb his way towards the top of the weight class. And that was a very hard debut matchup for Jose Ochoa. But the thing about Jose, if you go back and watch his fights on the regional scene, this guy's a finisher. He has outstanding power in his hands. He's very dangerous on the feet. And if you want to entertain the grappling with this guy, he will chase submissions. He's got a very, very good sprawl. He's very athletic. And this guy's got that fighter vibe to him. He's, throwing his hands up in the air, taunting. These Peru guys, man, they're savages. And that's the way that it's the easiest way to describe Jose is he is a savage. He's looking to finish the fight. He's not going in there trying to point fight. This fight's cut and dry. Cody Durden, he's going to come out and try to get the fight to the floor. He's going to look to wrestle fuck Jose for all 15 minutes. Now, he does have the experience advantage, so that worries me because what we've seen from Jose, one fight in the UFC, loses to a good prospect in Loner Kavanaugh, but it was a kickboxing fight. What happens when Jose's in there against someone who is going to pursue the grappling threat for 15 minutes? That's the big question mark coming into this. But if this fight plays out on the feet, I think Jose knocks out Cody Durden. And that's kind of how I'm looking at this here. But I honestly believe that I'm gonna go with Jose in this. I think that he is able to find a knockout shot. Like I said, if he cannot get Durden out of there and he cannot keep the fight on the feet, He's going to find himself in some issues because Durden will weaponize his veteran experience of being in the UFC. He does have the wrestling advantage here, but I know that it's not the same type of competition as a Cody Durden. I like what I saw from Jose when the fight was hitting the floor. He was not just accepting bottom position, trying to play guard. He's trying to work back to his feet. He's chasing submissions, and he is a very aggressive guy on the feet. And we've seen if you're aggressive against Cody Durden and you make him second guess and hesitant to level change, I think Jose will find some success. I actually think that Jose is able to get this one done. But like I said, if he can't stop the takedowns, Durden will pull this one off. Moving on, we have Malcolm Wellmaker versus Chris Moutinho. This fight was added just recently here, and I like this fight here because Chris Moutinho, his name he basically got his name by being a human punching bag in front of Sean O'Malley at UFC, I think it was 264 on the McGregor card, to where Chris Moutinho's stock went through the roof, right? Because he went in there, Sean O'Malley had all this hype, and Moutinho just kept moving forward and eating 1,000 shots like a zombie, and he was giving it to O'Malley, right? And O'Malley looked like he was starting to slow down. Moutinho was landing some shots, waving them on, and he had that fun kind of fight there where he was getting the shit beat out of him, make no mistake about it, but it kind of just, it built him up a little bit. Then he went to, the regional scene, and he's been stacking them up, man. Chris Moutinho's been doing a very good job going out there, submitting guys. He's been knocking people out, finishing people on the ground. I like everything that Moutinho's been doing, right? But again, that's the regional scene. And he's training over at, in New England Cartel with Calvin Kattar, Rob Font, and they just seem like they've been struggling to kind of get their footing here. And I know that this is a big opportunity for Chris Moutinho, and he is super durable, which is a good attribute to have sort of coming into this fight because Malcolm Wellmaker, this dude's a savage. He's an absolute savage, and what we've seen from him, came in on the Contender Series, knocked out Adam with a beautiful right hook. Then he goes out there with that nasty counter right hand again and starches Cameron Simon. We've never seen anybody do that to Cameron Simon. We've never seen anybody do that. And Malcolm Wellmaker, he's a savage. He's game. He's very well-rounded. But the difference with him, he has true one-shot knockout power. And he is a big guy for the weight class. At 5'10", he's got a 71.5-inch reach. We know Moutinho's durable. He's got some miles on him, man. He's 32, almost 33, but he gets battered around in a lot of his fights. He takes damage. He, takes one to give one. That's kind of his game plan. And maybe he comes out here and tries to take Wellmaker down and take him into deep water and be that zombie, right? But I just have a hard time seeing him making it all 15 minutes, dealing with the speed, the athleticism, and the power that Malcolm Wellmaker possesses. I'm going Malcolm Wellmaker here by second round knockout. I could see him wobbling him in the first round, but getting Chris out of there in the first, that'd be wildly impressive considering, everyone's going to be kind of judging it off of the O'Malley fight, right? Because that's kind of the last dose we had of Moutinho in the UFC. The guy he's a solid fighter. He's not UFC caliber. He's going to be in there against a fast, agile, very good eyes for countering. Malcolm Wellmaker is going to tee off on this guy and he's going to look like a heavy bag again. Malcolm Wellmaker will find the KO in this fight. This dude's different. Moving on, we have Michael Chiesa versus Court McGee. This is an old head matchup. This is a battle of the OGs, man. I like when the UFC does this. I like when we get these OGs that have been around the block. They've been around for forever and don't always feed them to a young guy, right? I get that the UFC likes to do that to build some of the, the next generation. I get that, but it's nice when we get these OG type of matchups because to me, this is a very even fight here. I could see this going either way because while Court McGee is almost 41 years of age, he's a very good grappler, good wrestling, and, striking serviceable. But what we've seen throughout his career, he's a durable guy, right? I don't even know if Court McGee's ever been finished, right? I mean, he is just, and this win over Ramiz Brahimaj has really aged well, but he got finished, so he has gotten finished. I think submitted is what I was meaning there. Got knocked out by Jeremiah Wells, got finished by Matt Brown, and then he lost the decision to Alex Morono, and then he was able to submit Tim Means. That's what I meant. Court McGee's a savage on the ground. He knows how to stay safe. He doesn't play into his opposition's game when it comes to the grappling. He likes to play his game and dictate the pace. That's what this is going to come down to because Michael Chiesa, he likes to do the same thing. Michael Chiesa went on a little bit of a skid to where he got subbed by Vicente Luque, got decisioned by Sean Brady, to where he had a few moments in that fight, but he pretty much got dominated. Goes out there, gets subbed by Kevin Holland, but he's found a way to get 2 victories here. The dead body of Tony Ferguson, then he goes out there and subs Max Griffin, which I wasn't sure that he was going to beat Max Griffin, to be fair. Michael Chiesa, to me, should absolutely win this fight. He's a little bit younger. He has really good submission skills, and I think on the feet, his footwork and his activity from range could be an issue for Court McGee. And I think if the fight hits the floor, both of these guys are educated enough to stay out of trouble. But if someone's finishing someone on the ground here, I think it's Court McGee finishing Michael Chiesa. So I think that that's definitely possible. But given at where he's at in his career at this point, Michael Chiesa, I don't think is as bad as Tim Means was when he was in there against Court. I'm going to say Michael Chiesa is able to win some of the grappling exchanges, stay safe, and land more shots on the feet to where he is able to outstrike Court McGee in a very close decision. I think that this is lined up for Michael Chiesa to get a W. He's coaching on The Ultimate Fighter. He's doing all this analyst work. Very favorable fight for Michael Chiesa. Court McGee is a savage on the ground. Very hard to put him away. In terms of the grappling, I think Michael Chiesa is just able to win a close decision here over Court. Moving on, we have Paul Craig versus Rodolfo Bellato. This was supposed to take place, I believe, on the Apex card a few weeks ago, and same kind of breakdown here. I've already broken this fight down, and listen, Paul Craig has the ability to just about beat anybody in the weight class, right? He could get the shit beat out of him for 14 and a half minutes, and in the final 30 seconds, he just throws up a Hail Mary triangle and he gets you out of there. But outside of that, Paul Craig is essentially a moving heavy bag on the feet. His striking is labored. It's slow. He does not move his head at all. He has essentially no defense on the feet at all. But if there's ever a big, blocky idiot in this weight class that could fall right into the trap of Paul Craig, it would be Rodolfo Bellato. Because as bad as Paul Craig has been, Bellato has been getting by on these wins, but he's a disaster. I think Bellato is an absolute disaster. He's wild on the feet when the fight hits the floor. I mean, in some of these fights, where he goes out there and, gets it done, against Jimmy Crute, but I thought he was going to destroy Jimmy Crute. A lot of people did, and he made Jimmy Crute look like fantastic, right? Then he goes out there, he's getting the shit kicked out of him by Ior Potieria, is able to come back in a crazy come-from-behind victory, but he was getting destroyed, right? And then before that, on the Contender Series, had the impressive KO win. Bellato's got power. He can absolutely knock out Paul Craig, and I think that he will. I think that he'll do it early on in this fight. I don't think Paul Craig will last very long here because, again, Paul Craig was, things were kind of fizzling out at light heavyweight, dropped down to middleweight to try to find success, wasn't working out there. Those guys are fast and powerful. Now he's coming back up. Bellato has, I don't want to say middleweight-like speed, but he definitely has more power than those guys. And if those guys are hurting Craig, I can only imagine what happens when Bellato lands. Outside of a Hail Mary submission, Rodolfo Bellato should win this fight all day long. Paul Craig is washed, man. That's the sad reality. It's crazy to me that he has wins over Jamal Hill and Magomed Ankalaev. Still blows my mind. But again, outside of a Hail Mary submission, Bellato should get this thing done. Moving on, we have Alonzo Menifield versus Umar Sy. Interesting fight here because Alonzo Menifield, he's a guy that's just kind of been towards the back end of the light heavyweight rankings for a while now, and look, he's a special athlete. He's powerful, he's explosive, he's dangerous, and we've kind of seen, I feel like, this ceiling for Alonzo Menifield, which is somewhere between that 10 and 15 ranking in the light heavyweight division, and he's got some wins that have aged pretty well, right? I know he's got the wins over Jimmy Crute, and again, Jimmy Crute was kind of overhyped, and then he goes out there and beats Dustin Jacoby. This was an interesting fight because Dustin, he was sticking and moving. He was playing a very strategic game because he knew about the power of Menifield. But Menifield goes out there, gets finished by Carlos Ulberg, just kind of bull rushed him. I don't know what the hell he was thinking. Went out there, got that was a dumb game plan. Maybe just trying to catch Ulberg off guard, I guess. Didn't want to get into a technical scrap with him, which I guess that's fair enough. But gets finished very, very quickly. Then goes out there and gets murked by Azamat Mirzakhanov. Again, Look at the competition here. These are two of the top guys in the weight class. And Mirzakhanov, he'll be fighting for a title at some point, right? Then he goes out there and beats Julius Walker by split decision. I thought Walker won this fight. And to say that Menifield was neck and neck with Julius Walker, who that guy looked nothing like he was ready for the UFC. It was a disastrous fight. It was awful. Both guys were dog tired. It was entertaining in the sense they were both tired, just falling into each other like, oh, and throwing little pitter-patter shots. It wasn't a good fight. Both guys were fatigued. The bottom line is this. Menifield, I feel like we've already seen what his ceiling at this point. And Umar C, this dude is dangerous, man. If you go back and watch the regional tape, this guy he's very strong. He's explosive. And when he gets a hold of guys, he drops them on their ass. And when he gets into those top positions, he rains down nice ground and pound. He's got excellent submission skills, loves to get to the back and get that rear naked choke. We've seen, like I said, when he gets on top, the ground and pound is nasty, and he comes into the UFC, gets a submission over Tuco Tucos, and he's coming off of the decision win over Dawoon Jung. I like everything that we have seen from Umar C so far, and I think that he is able to finish Alonzo Menifield in this fight. I'm going to say that he gets a submission in the second round. I think in the first, maybe Menifield lands a shot, right? Because you always have to be worried about the power coming your way against Alonzo. The guy hits like an absolute truck. But I think C will be ready for that. I think that maybe he'll land a couple shots on the outside, get to the takedowns. Maybe Menifield will have the energy in the first round to defend well. But I think by the second round, coming off of the stool, he's going to be mouth breathing. He's going to be very fatigued. I see Omar C taking him down again, maybe getting him out of there with some ground and pound. I think he gets to the back and finds a submission. This would be the biggest win of C's career. The dude's a stud. I got Umar C by second round submission. I think he's a very game opponent and a hard matchup for a lot of guys at 205. Moving on, we have Cody Brundage versus Mansour Abdul-Malik. This is a fun fight here because Cody Brundage, he's someone who quietly has been on a nice run here, right? And I know that he's got that loss sprinkled in there and he beat Jacob Malkoon, but again, when I say that he's on a run here, I'm joking, right? He's on this quiet run of just basically like if there's any way out of the fight, it feels like Cody Brundage is going to take that, right? He goes out there against Jacob Malkoon, takes the DQ, gets, Batista bombs Zachary Reese through the canvas, gets a win, which that was impressive, right? I thought that was crazy. Then he goes out there and he gets subbed by Bo Nickel. Okay, Bo Nickel's a little bit overhyped, but again, still a very good wrestler, got good submissions. Then he goes out there, accidental blows to the back of the head against Abdul Razak Al Hassan. If you give Cody any opportunity, the fight will be stopped due to a DQ or whatever. Then he goes out there and finishes Julian Marquez. Julian's over the hill. Julian had that nice little run where he's calling out Miley Cyrus and, oh, Miley, look at me. And look at this chest hair type of deal with Julian Marquez. Whatever the hell he was saying. I don't know what he was saying, right? He was up there. I think he said something about his chest hair. He was going to shave a heart or Miley's name, or I don't know what the hell he was talking about. But anyway, he's not very good. Julian Marquez isn't very good. Got destroyed by Cody Brundage. He even rocked Cody Brundage, right? And Mansour Abdul-Malik, this dude's special, man. He's sensational. We saw that against Wes Schultz on the Contender Series. Goes out there, finishes him, finishes Todorovic, and then goes out there and finishes Nick Klein. It got hairy, though. Remember when Nick Klein went, I think it was a spinning back fist, he was able to drop him, which that's a moment that kind of had everyone holding their breath. The bottom line is this. Outside of Brundage landing some sort of shot, Mansour absolutely dominates this fight. And I think in the first round, he is able to KO Cody Brundage because the thing about Cody, say what you want, he'll take the way out. But in terms of getting into a scrap, he won't shy away from it. And the wrestling will cancel out here because Cody normally has, some good wrestling to bring to the table. I don't see that happening in this fight because we all know Mansour has very good wrestling of his own. He's got that wrestling background. The power, the striking advantage is on the side of Abdul-Malik. I think that he is able to get a first-round finish over Cody Brundage. I got Abdul-Malik, man. Dude's dangerous. Moving on, we have Cody Garbrandt versus Hani Barcelos. This was one of those fights when it got booked. I went, I winced. Because I'm a big Cody Garbrandt fan. I remember the days of Cody Garbrandt being on the regional scenes, fighting up in PA, amateur days in Ohio. And, he's got outstanding boxing. Cody Garbrandt at one point, He was someone the UFC was clearly looking to push, clearly looking to turn into some sort of superstar. You know, the Dillashaw rivalry was the downfall of his career, and it just seems like we have not seen the same Cody Garbrandt since. And I know he's got 2 wins in here to where he was able to win a decision over Trevin Jones. Trevin Jones ain't shit, right? So he goes out there, beats him. He's able to KO an old, washed up Brian Kelleher. So those are his wins. Right, then he's going out there, he's losing to Rob Font by decision, got battered around, gets finished by Kai Kara-France when he tried to go down to flyweight, which was a complete disaster. Then he gets submitted by Deiveson Figueiredo at UFC 300. I know that the Deiveson Figueiredo loss isn't so bad because Figgy's a former flyweight champion. He's been pretty good at bantamweight outside of losing to Sandhagen and a few things here and there. Figueiredo's a very good opponent. The problem with Cody Garbrandt, he has this issue with seeing red. He gets in there, drops the head, forgets the technique, goes full ooga booga, goes full rage mode, and gets himself into trouble. Now, we've seen Cody Garbrandt do a better job of not resorting to that. The issue, he just got taken down and submitted by Deiveson Figueiredo. And I know Figgy's got a good ground game, but if I'm looking at someone who has also a very good ground game that flies under the radar a lot in the UFC, it is the old veteran at 38 years of age, in Hani Barcelos, who went out there and pulled off one of the biggest upsets we've seen against Peyton Talbot. And I got to tell you, when this was announced, I winced because 2 things I'm scared about. Cody Garbrandt obviously has the speed and power in that right hand to KO anybody in this weight class, but he drops his hands. And if you can suck Cody into a brawl, a guy like Barcelos, who isn't that great of a striker, but does possess actual KO power as well, that is a recipe for a disaster. And the other problem is Barcelos has really, really good grappling. And if Cody's worried about the takedown entries, that will open up the big power shots for Hani Barcelos. And that's what we've seen even before the Peyton Talbot fight. He was able to submit Chris Quiones. He was able to win against Trevin Jones. Yeah, he got finished. That was against Umar Nurmagomedov. He lost a He lost a unanimous decision to Kyler Phillips, who's very mobile on the outside, very dynamic. Cody Garbrandt's not dynamic. He's fast, he's got power, and sure, there's the shot that he can KO this older version of Hani Barcelos. Garbrandt, I don't know where his head's at, man. He's one of my favorite bantamweights of all time. I love watching him fight. He's super fun. I've always said that Cody is a guy that had all the potential in the world, was one of the greatest fighters we've ever seen when he fought Dominic Cruz to win the title. I mean, in that 25 minutes, Cody was untouchable. But he just feels like the Dillashaw rivalry was like the downfall of this guy. It was the downfall of this guy. And he's had moments, right, where he knocked out a Sunsal at the buzzer. And he has these moments to where he gets these big wins against these older guys. But I know Barcelos is older, but he's still game. He's got power. He's got really excellent submission skills. He's got really good wrestling as well. I think Barcelos wins, man. I think he wins this fight, and I honestly think that he probably subs Cody Garbrandt. And this sucks. It sucks here, and I hope Cody Garbrandt knocks his ass out. I hope I'm wrong. Maybe I'll change my pick. I don't know. But I hope Cody Garbrandt can knock his ass out. But given what we've seen, how dangerous and dynamic Peyton Talbot is, and what Barcelos just did, maybe we're riding off of the hype here because he beat Peyton Talbot and no one was expecting it. Barcelos' game, man, his jiu-jitsu skills are next level, and he seems like he's improving time in and time out at 38 years of age, constantly improving. His striking, again, not particularly great, but if he can force Cody to brawl with him, he's got power to hurt Cody, and then he has, again, leading up to the Figueiredo fight, nobody takes Cody Garbrandt down and controls him. Nobody does that. Nobody, let alone subs Cody Garbrandt. So I don't know where Garbrandt's head's at. I like the skill set of Hani Barcelos. Think that this is a scary fight for Cody at this point in his career. But if we see a vintage Garbrandt, he knocks him out. I don't know if we see that guy. I think Barcelos is able to get this one done. Moving on, we have Edmund Shahbazyan versus Andre Petroski. Interesting fight, because I feel like whenever we're talking about Edmund Shahbazyan, he's someone who, man, I've always thought really highly of Edmund. I remember at one point, the Golden Boy, he came in and it was like, this is the next contender in the middleweight division. This is a prospect to keep your eye on, and he kind of hit a few road bumps. But we've seen him kind of get it back on track a little bit to where, he was able to, finish Dalcha, goes out there, loses to Anthony Hernandez, then he finishes AJ Dobson. He's beaten up on GM3, then he gets taken down and subbed. Then he's coming off of a brutal knockout over Dylan Budka. So we all know that Edmen Shahbazyan on the feet, he's a very precise striker. He's dangerous from range, and he has incredible speed in his hands, and he does have power to put anybody out. The problem is if he empties the gas tank trying to knock you out, and you extend Edmen, if you extend Edmen, take him down, utilize the grappling, wear on him, blow his arms up, and make him tired, you are able to control him and possibly get him out of there in terms of the grappling. Now, I don't think that Andre Petroski brings the same level of threat with the grappling as someone like a GM3, but I do think that Petroski has the ability to out-grapple and out-wrestle Edmen in this fight, right? We saw against Josh Fremd. Josh Fremd's not that good. Goes out there, beats Dylan Budka. He's coming off of a win over Rodolfo Vieira. I think that fight could have went the other way. I thought Vieira could have won that fight, but either way, it was very close. A lot of what Petroski has been doing is not going to work against Edmen. We saw against Michel Pereira, he got finished. We saw against Jacob Malkoun, he got finished. Listen, man, Edmen Shahbazyan, he's going to land on Andre Petroski early in this fight, and he is going to knock him out in the first round. Now, again, if Petroski can survive, if he can get the early takedowns, drag this out, maybe he can, squeeze out a decision or something. But when Edmen is dialed in, when he is not emptying the gas tank, when he is fighting smart and patient and fighting behind those long-rangey weapons, this dude is a dangerous issue for a lot of people to deal with. I think Shahbazyan is able to knock out Andre Petroski in round number 1. Co-main event, we have Thug Rose Namajunas versus Miranda Maverick. Big step up in competition here for Miranda Maverick. And Miranda's someone that I've been watching for a lot of her pro career. I was at Shogun Fights a number of years ago, got to see her compete there on the regional scene, and her getting to the UFC, she's just it seems like she's been leveling up her skill set to a degree, right? In terms of the grappling, right? We saw her lose to Jasmine Jasdavicius, but again, look how good Jasmine is. She's able to beat Priscilla, goes out there, beats Andrea Lee, Dion Barboza, and she's coming off of the decision victory over Jamie Lynn Horth. And look, Miranda Maverick, she's strong. She's powerful. She has good takedowns. And if she could get the fight to the floor, I think she could have a lot of success in this matchup. The issue is this. Thug Rose Namajunas is clearly head and shoulders above Miranda when it comes to the striking. I think Miranda's she's very physically strong. I think that she has, striking. I don't think it's completely awful, but I don't think it's particularly good. And I think that she's going to have to get the fight to the floor to have any chance in this fight. But the issue, Thug Rose is incredibly experienced. She's incredibly experienced, and over the course of 25 minutes, I think Thug Rose could put a serious hurting on Miranda Maverick. But given that this is 15, I think that actually plays a little bit to the advantage of Miranda in this fight. But I believe that the footwork of Thug Rose is going to be the problem here, because while Miranda has had success with the grappling, she's going to have to get a hold of Thug Rose. And considering Rose has outstanding footwork, really good lateral movement, she's very hard to track down, I just think that Miranda's going to really struggle to close the distance and get a hold of Thug Rose, because what we've seen from Namajunas is, that awful fight with Carla Esparza. She loses to Menifield, where she was having a lot of moments there, right? And she had the compromised hand. Goes out there, beats Amanda Ribas, beats Tracy Cortez, and she's coming off of a loss to Erin Blanchfield, who's top of the food chain in this weight class, might even be a world champion at some point. I think Thug Rose's footwork, her timing, and her striking is going to be several steps ahead of Miranda all night long. I think Thug Rose is able to outpoint Miranda and win a decision here. But like I said, if Maverick can get the fight to the floor and control Rose on the ground, she could absolutely win this fight, but I just don't see it happening. I think that the footwork, the timing, and the rhythm of Namajunas is going to be way too much for Miranda in this fight, and there's going to be a significant speed advantage on the feet. I got Rose getting it done by decision. Last but not least, we have the main event of the evening between Kamaru Usman and Joaquin Buckley. If this fight took place a few years ago, I think Kamaru Usman would absolutely beat Joaquin Buckley. I think that Kamaru Usman had all of the skills and ability to beat somebody as athletic and as explosive and as dangerous as Buckley. But we have to be real with the situation here. This is one of those fights that it sucks to see whenever we have these, the OGs, the older generation that's been around for a while, these guys that, like Usman, He's one of the greatest welterweights of all time. He has an unbelievable legacy, and he will be obviously a UFC Hall of Famer. He's already done it all, right? Kamaru Usman basically has nothing left to prove here other than, to make some good money here, maybe go on another run. Maybe I'm sure that's part of the motivation as well. He's coming off of 3 losses. One of those to Khamzat Chimaev on short notice, up a weight class, up at 185 pounds, and he got 10-8'd in the first round. It looked as bad as it could get. Khamzat Chimaev is just a different level of beast, but then he started to come back. He started to land some good shots on Khamzat, right? And he took it to him. Goes out there, loses to Leon Edwards in the trilogy. In the second fight, he got head kick KO'd, which Usman was dominating the whole fight until the last minute. And then he, beat Colby Covington in the rematch, KO'd Jorge Masvidal with a right hand. Kamaru Usman has an outstanding jab. He's got very good wrestling. We saw Colby Covington take down Buckley, have some success there as the fight started to play out. And of course, Usman could come in here and he could pull this off. He has power in that right hand. His striking has really improved, especially the boxing from working with Trevor Whitman. And he's added some kicks into his game. He's got the fight IQ on his side. He's got all the experience in the world. Kamaru Usman, that man's knees are hit, dog. His knees are hit. He's older. Not only is he older, but we haven't seen him fight in almost 2 years, right? So whenever you're older and you're inactive, those are 2 double whammies going against you. I don't like that coming into this fight against the streaking red-hot Joaquin Buckley, who, yes, some of these fights are against older opposition, right? Alex Morono, not particularly good, goes out there, finishes Vicente Luque. Looked like Luque just folded in that fight, right? Let's just be honest. Goes out there. He just put it on Nursultan Ruziboev, who, again, shouldn't be at welterweight cutting too much weight, but still a very impressive win, right? Was taking him down at will. Goes out there. He's getting outstruck by Stephen Wonderboy Thompson. KOs him in the 3rd round. Goes out there and finishes Colby Covington. It was stopped due to cuts, but again, he was beating the brakes off Colby. Here's the deal with Buckley, man. He's got that peekaboo style. He explodes into his shots. He's got dangerous power in his hands. He's got very, very good kicks. He's got power in everything he does. But he's also super athletic. He's very nimble. He's fast, and he's really well-rounded. He's very well-rounded. He's not as good of a straight wrestler as Usman, but Buckley is very physically strong. I don't think Usman's just going to bully him around with his size up against the fence, right? That's what we've seen Kamaru do a great job of with his grappling in his career. Back guys up against the fence, neutralize their movement, take away that explosiveness. I expect Usman to try to do that. And again, Buckley is very susceptible to straight shots down the middle, right? If you can time that peekaboo entry, boom, and pop him with the jab, I think Usman can have a lot of success. Jab to the body, set up the jab upstairs, bring that right hand right behind it, because that is Kamaru Usman's best shot, is that straight right hand once he gets the jab going. I absolutely see a scenario to, even at this point in his career, to where Kamaru is able to pull this off. But the youth, the speed, the athleticism on the side of Buckley, I think it's just a lot for Usman to overcome. And I even think that this Buckley currently against a prime Usman, this would give Usman a run for his money. I still think that Usman in his prime could win this fight, but I think that it would give Usman a run for his money. And now that Usman's 38, he's been wildly inactive. It's hard to see him getting this one done. I think that he can, in the later rounds, I do think that he could have an advantage there, even though Buckley is the younger guy. But one of the things about Buckley is normally when you come down a weight class, it feels like your gas tank might be compromised. Buckley has an unbelievable gas tank, dude. He's really well-rounded, very physically strong, explosive, powerful. He doesn't fade. Maybe if Usman's able to take him down and control him and wear on him a little bit, sure, maybe that could fatigue Buckley a little bit. This is the biggest fight of Buckley's life. This is the biggest fight of his life. Goes out there, beats up on Colby Covington. That was a big opportunity for him. And I know that people are ragging on Buckley. He's fighting all these older guys, beating them up. But how many guys have KO'd Wonderboy? One person other than Buckley, and that was Pettis, which was that Superman punch, which again, I don't want to say it was lucky, but a little bit of luck goes into that shot, right? And, Wonderboy just didn't see it coming. But outside of that, Wonderboy, it's either you take him down and hold him down to beat him or you don't beat him. That's kind of what it's been. And Buckley has that style to where he's not super strategic. He goes in there and just fights guys. And I've been saying that I think that is one of the most dangerous qualities about Buckley that gives him a shot against anybody in this weight class. He just goes in there and fights. He's well-rounded. He's confident. He's super athletic. I think Joaquin Buckley wins this fight, man. Maybe there's a chance that he KOs Kamaru Usman and lands something because we saw Edwards knock him out with a head kick. But theoretically, Usman's been very durable. We've seen that he's durable. We've seen that, when he gets in the pocket and he starts to trade, Usman can hurt guys. He's got power. He's confident. He's, got all the experience in the world. I think that even if he does get hurt, which I think that Buckley will sting him in this fight, I think that he will survive and be able to drag this one out. But I think that Buckley will outscore him, land the more damaging shots. I think Usman's going to have a very hard time grappling him, controlling him up against the fence. I just have a hard time seeing him do that to a very athletic, explosive, and strong guy in Joaquin Buckley, who is firing on all cylinders right now. And a win here for Joaquin Buckley, he puts himself right in the conversation for a title opportunity. This is the old gen versus the new gen. And we see this where the older guys, they're basically used to build the younger guys. Not that Usman doesn't have a chance here, but this is basically about building Joaquin Buckley. And again, I believe that this is Buckley's first main event opportunity. So 5 rounds, he was just in because he just fought Colby Covington in a 5-rounder in a main event. This is a big one, though. This is a big one here against Kamaru Usman, the legend of the division. I think Joaquin Buckley is able to outscore him and win this fight by decision. But if you guys enjoyed this video, please give it a like. Let me know what you think down in the comments. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell so you do not miss an upload. I would greatly appreciate it. See you next time.